Shalom. Welcome to Shar's Stories. Today I'm talking about a bicycle trip to the thumb and the thumb of Michigan. Michigan is shaped like this. Wisconsin is shaped like this. Okay. So Floyd and I was my husband um, who passed in 2022. Um, he and I on short notice planned a trip to the Thumb area in Michigan with our good friends, a married couple, Diana and Stuart. They were experienced cyclists, very experienced. They would go like on 50-mile trips or something like that. And Floyd and I had new bikes. That was about the only thing we had in common with the bicycle thing. All right, but we were gonna go on a bicycle trip. My mom begged Floyd and I not to go to the Thumb because it was well known to be a militant territory in Michigan. We assured her that we would be fine, and everyone we had met on several trips, well, they were really kind. Once we met Judge Frank Murphy's daughter. She was in her 90s, and the Murphy Museum was closed, and a passerby told us, go next door and knock on the door. So we did, and she invited us in. We talked that day, and we went to visit again some months later and even corresponded for a while. The most memorable story that she told us was of her dad, and her dad was a well-known politician and jurist from Michigan. He served as the first assistant U.S. district attorney. He was also in the recorder's court. He was a judge there. He was a mayor of Detroit for a while, and the governor general of the Philippines, high commander of the Philippines, the 35th governor of Michigan, United States Attorney General, and from 39 to 40. That's when he was in when he was working with Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Anyway, so she told us the story, and she said the most memorable story is when for me the most memorable story is when her dad worked for President Roosevelt. Her grandfather refused to have a telephone installed in their home, so when Judge Murphy went home to visit, the president had to call the gas station and had to wait for somebody to go fetch Judge Murphy. Okay. Now, this heartwarming story did not move my mother's opinion. She promptly responded, y'all go on up there in them backwoods if you want to, and let somebody drag y'all off and kill you. Stuart Jewish, Diana is Catholic, and the two of you are black. Y'all just the folks they looking to wipe out. You'll never get me up there. Well, only the last sentence of her tirade came true. Anyway, we would have a wonderful time getting away from the city, staying in the country cottages and bicycling. So we took two vehicles. The ladies led out with the guys following. So Floyd and I took first driving. I was driving our car and Floyd was driving Diana in the car. Now Diana and I began to laugh and talk about some of our escapades. I was driving. I forgot all about the guys who were following us. It's a good thing they had a map. Whoa, whoa, I slammed on the brakes. There were police and FBI all around the place. And the Oklahoma bombing had took place while I was working in Washington, D.C. a few days earlier. And how was I to know that McVeigh and Nichols, the bomber and the conspirator, would have their hideout on the same road that we were traveling? We had just drove to within spitting distance of Nichols' house, and the feds were swarming the place. And Diane and I were amazed to have popped up in the middle of a real live news reel, okay? And I beckoned one of the officers at the roadblock, to come over. And when he approached the car, I asked for alternate directions to get to the cottages. And so he knew the area, and he sent us down some real back roads. And we stopped at a country grocery store and hoped that Floyd and Stuart would take the same detour and would find us. Okay. So sure enough, within 10 minutes later, they pulled into the store. The first thing Floyd said, he said, you left us 50 miles back when you were driving like a bat out of hell. When I saw the roadblock a half a mile up, he said, I just knew you had an accident and tore up the car. Okay. Don't worry about me. I just tore up this vehicle. All right. So anyway, we made it to the cottages. And the next day, we were going to take our bicycle ride, and we were going to go into town. And I'm thinking the bicycle ride might have been 5 miles at a minimum, and I know it probably wasn't 10 miles, okay? And we were going to go into the to the town to window shop and do some antique shopping, but not much because we had to bring everything back on the bike. So at the point where we got ready to return, I was so tired. You know, you're the saying, I couldn't even think straight. Okay. So I said, we got to do something because I cannot ride this bike back. Okay. So we were sitting there, the four of us were standing there, the four of us trying to figure out what to do. So we finally figured the steward, who was probably the better bicycle rider, he would bicycle back to the cottages and he would bring back his pickup truck, and all four of us would get into the pickup truck. And so but the pickup truck only had the front bench seat, and the three bicycles would have to go in the back part. So I just said, we'll figure this out. We'll figure this out, Stuart, you going back. So Stuart went back and he brought back the truck. And so we got the bicycles in the back. And so then when we had to figure out how all four of us was going to get in this seater that was really only for two people. So Stuart first said, he said, I'm driving. Okay, because the driver was going to get enough room. We had to be piled up on each other. So we figured out Stuart would drive. Then Diana would sit next to him. Then I would sit next to Diana at the door. And then Floyd would sit on my lap. Okay, so we it was a mess. Okay, we didn't get. I don't even think we got out of town. We may have got to the outskirts of town when we heard the police sirens go on. Okay. So everybody was, oh. So I said, okay, don't nobody say anything. Let me do the talking. Okay. Now, I didn't get any pushback from anybody else on letting me do the talking. Okay. So the policeman got out of his car and he came up to the window where I was. He came over, and there's something else. He came over to the window where I was, okay, with Floyd sitting on my lap. So we rolled the window down, and I said, "Good afternoon, officer." You know, like nothing's going on. So he kind of smiled, and he said, "Anybody got on seatbelts in there?" Okay, so we all got tickled, you know. So we laughed. So I tried to explain to him what was going on. That we got tired. We couldn't ride the bicycles back, and that this was the first time this had ever happened, and it was never going to happen again. And all we need to do was be able to get to the cottages, and we were good. So he just gave us a warning and let us go. But I'm gonna tell you, if we had really thought through what we were doing, that situation wouldn't have happened. And it reminds me of a verse in Luke. In Luke 14:28 through 30 says, "For which of you, intending to build a tower, sitteth not down first and counteth the cost, whether he has sufficient to finish it, lest haply, after he hath laid the foundation and is not able to finish it, all that behold it begin to mock him, saying, This man began to build and was not able to finish." So, what you know, that's a caution for anything in life, whether you baking a cake and didn't check the whether you had flavor in or not, whether you're going on a trip, whether you are have a work project going on, whatever, you know. And that's something else, that scripture has something that pertains to every aspect of our lives. Father knew that we were going to need directions, and we were going to need plenty of directions, so he gave it to us. Thanks for listening, and remember to like and share, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you.